Do Barry and Suzanne get along pretty well?
Uh,
You can answer honestly.
you know, I think they've had some problems.
Okay.
Yeah, in the past.
Like, just normal.
Normal husband and wife type deal.
Oh, they like talk about separating or anything
They
like
have,
that?
yeah.
Okay.
I would, yeah.
And you know this through.
Macy.
Yeah, I'm very
Macy.
close with her.
Yeah, it's
her daughter.
important that you, at this
I know,
point
I know,
you
I
tell
know,
them
I know.
anything that
Yeah.
you know like that.
Yeah, and he is in Denver for a work job. He's a landscaper, and he's got a big job in Denver. So that's where he's at.
Okay.
Hello and welcome to True Crime Rocket Science, the most authentic voice in true crime. Well, 4 new body cam videos have just been released. You've just heard the first one. It's not very long, only about 35 to 40 seconds, but absolutely crucial to the investigation. What I'm going to do now is play you 2 more. The one is the reaction or the moment that Barry Morphew arrives home and speaks to the officers. He actually says something quite crazy. You know, did you find any mountain lion tracks in the area? And then we're going to go back to Miles Harden, that's the boyfriend of one of the Morphew daughters, talking about where he thought that Suzanne may have mountain biked. And then after that, I will come back into this. So listen carefully. I will be putting links to 4 body cam sources so you can watch the audio and video at the same time. But let's first listen to the audio.
Hey, Barry. Besides, I know the bike was here, but what are some of the paths that, or like the trails, like places?
She rides this road. She rides up to the top, and then she goes up to Foose's.
Okay,
If there's no snow, she'll go up high on Foose's. She's went down this one a couple of times.
Down this one here too?
Yeah.
Okay. So double check Bruce's over there too, because I think
Well,
was it
see,
Miles?
if
I
there's
think
bikes-
Miles. Yeah, I know. We just want to double check everything. So, yeah.
Did anybody look for foot tracks on the road?
I haven't seen anything really, but
Like people tracks? We're lying.
I didn't really notice. But I won't lie, I'm not like an expert tracker or something, you know. Yeah. So my partner is actually the one that saw it and picked it up, but it was like the top of. It was weird because it feels like the top of the bike was like up this way.
So maybe flipped.
Maybe, I don't know.
So I don't know whether you caught that. There's actually a reference the officer makes to Miles, to one of the Morphew daughter's boyfriends, and he's talking about where he thought that Suzanne would be riding. And I could be wrong, but it sounds like a bit of a contradiction where, you know, Barry seemed to be pointing to kind of a mountain in the area, a steep sort of part, whereas Miles, you're going to hear him say this in a moment, seemed to be suggesting that that was beyond the capability of Suzanne. Let's listen in.
All right. What time did you get here?
6 o'clock, and then I went all the way up Foose's, because she's rode up there. And I just drove the main road, couldn't find her, and then there's a couple spots that I could check, like trails and stuff. But I wanted to come back here to just, like, check back in and stuff.
Okay. Has she ever gone up 225?
Colorado Trail right there?
Like, you know, the big hill once you come
Yeah.
off the highway?
Well, she hasn't, and I haven't checked there yet because that climb at the beginning is really hard.
Yeah.
And I think that it would be out of characteristic for her to do that. But I mean, someone needs to go there, I think.
Why would you say it was like on carry?
Well, because it's kind of a crazy,
Okay.
it's kind of a crazy climb to get up there. It's like
Alright.
not really rideable. You got to push your bike before you can start riding.
All right.
So I'm not going to play the 4th body cam where her bike seems to have been discovered, just because it's quite long and there's quite a lot of walking through the brush and not much talking. So I'll put the link to that in the description so that you can go through that. But what do we get from some of these things? So first of all, it's quite interesting seeing Barry. To me, it sounds like his voice is kind of, there's an inflection to his voice. You know, I guess one can compare his voice speaking to the officer, you know, on the night that Suzanne disappeared, to how he appears and how he sounds during his appeal, right? His appeal on Facebook. But to me, his voice just sounds like the pitch is a lot higher, which could be nervousness. He could also be out of breath, but it's just something that I've observed. In terms of the mountain bike, I'm a mountain biker myself, so I immediately notice a few things. First of all, from a true crime perspective, it may seem like a huge botching of the investigation, similar to criticisms, for example, of Linda Arendt not protecting the integrity of the Ramsey crime scene. And I must say, I thought, the officer may have just incidentally touched the bike here and there, or, lifted it up or something, but he literally removed the bike from where it was found and then carried it up to the road. I've found that very, very interesting, the distance from the road to the bicycle. I'd always wondered how close it was, because I'd always suspected that the bicycle was actually driven to where it was and then sort of discarded alongside the side of the road. Now that does appear to be the case. The issue with the officer removing the bike from where it was is you could have excluded the possibility of Suzanne, if she'd been riding the bike and she fell, you could exclude the possibility of any footprints around the bicycle, not even footprints, but, breakages in the grass. The whole area is surrounded by vegetation. And so you would naturally assume that if someone survived and walked off or was carried off, that you would see vegetation, the stalks being kind of bent over and kind of impressions made, right? And that doesn't seem to be the case. There also seems to be kind of an injury to the bike. It's difficult to say exactly what, but some kind of deformation of the front wheel. Not exactly sure what is going on there. I was going to say that, if there's no damage to the bicycle, how on earth can you have a scenario where Suzanne may have been badly hurt? If the bicycle's not hurt, she's likely not hurt. That's just how it often works in bicycle accidents. I don't know exactly what is the case here, but it does look like the front wheel was buckled. If it was buckled, the question is, how did that happen? Did it happen because it was forced to buckle? Was that done on purpose? Did it buckle when it was thrown over the embankment? That's also possible. And, when the bicycle was found, the wheel was turned facing the other way up. What I found quite interesting with Barry was that he answers immediately. He doesn't try and get more information. He doesn't say, oh, where was it, or was it scratched or anything. He's not asking questions. He almost instantly provides an option. Oh, perhaps the bicycle flipped, kind of thing, right? And so, I know there's been a lot of talk about the contamination of the bicycle. I know Barry himself was supposedly furious about the officers touching it. But where you have a potential cover-up and where you have potential misdirection, the object of the misdirection is hardly important, if you know what I mean. Trying to find whatever, fingerprints, fibers, whatever. If you just consider the possibility that Suzanne didn't ride the bicycle when she disappeared, then finding anything on the bicycle is not really going to matter. Do you get what I'm saying? Investigating the bicycle isn't really going to matter. It does matter in the sense of excluding possibilities, but beyond that, it doesn't really matter. So if a misdirection item is contaminated, as I say, it doesn't matter, but it's a huge bonus for the defense, because now there's even more reason to focus on the false flag, to spend a lot of time talking about the police botching it, and then that actually elevates the item of evidence to something to actually talk about. A final observation I want to make, and I could be completely wrong in this because I can't see very clearly what is going on, but I do feel like it's clear enough. The boyfriend of one of Barry's daughters, Miles, does seem to be correct that Suzanne wouldn't have ridden a particularly steep slope, which he describes as crazy steep, in the area. I don't know whether Barry was saying, go and look over there, and then the officer asked about that, but the reason why I don't think that she rode it is because of the configuration of the bicycle. If you look at the pedals in particular, Suzanne wasn't even using clipless pedals. Those blue pedals are sort of similar to just ordinary bicycle pedals that sometimes kindergarten children use on their first bicycles. And I could be mistaken, but these blue pedals don't appear to be the sort of pedals hardcore mountain bike riders use. Clipless pedals allow the shoes to click and lock into the pedals in order to better grip the bicycle, so that you've got a lot more purchase, so that you can get those wheels to turn and gain traction on sort of irregular terrain. You don't want your feet to easily slide off the pedals. Of course, if you're not a good mountain bike rider, you do want your feet to come off the pedals quickly, so that you can stay yourself if you're finding that you are losing speed, losing momentum, or the bike is sort of falling over. Does that make sense? So just from the pedals perspective would tell you that Suzanne probably didn't go up that steep part of the mountain. One thing I did notice, and you can go and check this yourself when you watch these body cam clips, as I said, I'll put all 4 links in the description, is the kind of terrain, the bushy terrain where the officers are looking. Now, if you imagine that the bicycle was placed where it was placed as a misdirection, then what the person who put the bicycle wanted in terms of that was for people to search that area. And that's exactly what they did. And can you see how thick that brush is? You're going to spend quite a lot of time walking through that tangle of brush. And is that going to get you any closer to where Suzanne really is? What do you think? Another question, is Miles Harden still in a relationship with one of the Morphew daughters? Somehow I doubt it. But it does seem as though he provided valuable intel right at the start of this case. And why? Because by being a boyfriend to one of the daughters, he would have known the dynamics of that family quite intimately. And because he spoke to the police quite openly, they, I think, were on the right track fairly soon. Thank you for listening. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do. Like, share, leave a comment, and I'll see you guys next time.